Michael had a car accident. When I arrived at the hospital, his secretary, Ava, was peeling an apple for him. In her flustered state, the paring knife slipped and cut her finger. Michael immediately grabbed her hand, tense with concern. "It's bleeding. Nurse. Nurse. Quickly." After the fuss settled, his eyes met mine. He instantly paled. I calmly set down the apple one was holding. "The apple. Do you still want to eat it?" Ava sat by the bed, her finger wrapped in a thick bandage, looking timid and apprehensive. My gaze drifted to the apple lying on the floor, half-peeled, the skin still attached. "Why didn't you finish peeling it?" Ava's delicate face went white. She looked pleadingly at the man in the hospital bed. Michael frowned. "Grace, don't make things difficult for her." Something that was perfectly acceptable just moments before I walked in had suddenly become making things difficult. Ava sighed dramatically in relief. She stood up, looking flustered. "Ms. Grace. Mr. Michael only had the accident because he was driving me home." After saying this, and before I could respond, her eyes reddened. "I'm truly sorry. I've caused you both trouble." She bowed deeply. I waited, but didn't speak. She gave Michael a hesitant look, grabbed her bag, and backed out of the room. The room was silent for a long time. Michael's gaze finally landed on me. "I thought you were asleep." I didn't know how to respond to that. 2 hours earlier, Michael had texted me. He said he had an evening meeting and told me not to wait up for dinner. At that exact moment, I was in his company parking lot, watching Ava climb into his passenger seat. I hadn't replied to his text. The hospital room remained quiet. I picked up the apple. The knife was in my hand, but I didn't slice into the fruit. I never learned how to peel an apple properly. I looked up and said flatly, "I also thought you were in a meeting." Michael's expression froze. A sudden knock on the door broke the tension. Ava's face peeked in, cautious and tentative. "Mr. Michael, I forgot my perfume." She scurried into the room. The scent of her perfume wafted past me. Next to Michael's bed sat a beautifully wrapped gift box, unopened. Ava picked it up, biting her lip as she explained. "Ms. Grace. I asked Mr. Michael to help me pick it out. Please. Ms. Grace. Don't overthink it." The way she acted, no woman would believe their relationship was innocent. I slammed the fruit knife onto the table. Clang. Ava jumped, looking at me nervously. I was expressionless. "But you're Mr. Michael said he was in a meeting." Ava looked sharply at Michael, then back at me, startled. She stammered. "Mr. Michael. He finished his meeting. He took me after his meeting." "Enough." Michael cut her off. Ava's eyes went red. Michael sounded annoyed. "Grace, stop frightening her." He softened his demeanor and looked at Ava. "You should go back now. This isn't your fault." She looked surprised. A few seconds later, she lowered her head, exceptionally obedient. "Okay." Only the two of us remained in the room. The atmosphere was stifling. Michael let out a suppressed breath and rubbed his forehead. "Grace, it's Ava's birthday soon. We don't have any other intentions." His choice of words was way. I suddenly felt weary. Rain began to fall outside the window. The drops hammered against the glass. Michael's face changed. A hint of worry flashed in his eyes, quickly masked. I heard Michael's phone ring. A girl's soft voice carried clearly through the speaker. "Mr. Michael, the rain is so heavy outside, and I didn't bring an umbrella. I'm so worried about you." I didn't hear Michael's reply. Ava's voice came again. "I still won't go home. Ms. Grace. She seems really bothered by my presence." Michael's expression hardened. His gaze locked onto mine. "Grace. She's a kid." I looked at him. A 26-year-old kid. He compressed his lips, not answering. I suddenly couldn't hold back my emotions. "Or do you wish that I was the one standing in the rain downstairs right now?" His aggression softened slightly. "I didn't mean that. Years ago, it had rained like this, too. I had fallen while working a part-time job and fractured my lower leg." Michael rushed into the hospital room in a panic. When he saw me, his eyes welled up. That time, I was trying to save money to buy him a winter coat. The one he wore had been used for 3 years. The cuffs were frayed, but he couldn't afford a replacement. Neither of us had much money then. The only fruit Michael allowable for vitamins was a cheap, hard apple. $10 for 15 pounds. The skin was tough and hard to chew. He patiently peeled them for me, one by one. Then, He would secretly eat the tough peels that were supposed to be thrown away. I cried, feeling heartbroken. But Michael laughed. He said, "Grace, from now on, I'll peel every skin for you." Later, Michael's business succeeded. He could buy any jacket he wanted. Any fruit we desired could be delivered home. Except, I never saw those hard apples again. When the rain stopped, I left the hospital. Michael sounded anxious. "Grace, are you upset?" I stopped walking but didn't turn around. I heard his tentative voice. "I didn't intentionally lie. I just worried you would overthink things." I tried hard to keep my voice from shaking. "The insurance company called about the damage appraisal." I heard the man behind me sigh in relief. He said, "Don't imagine things." Leaving the room, I walked past the orthopedic ward, right next to maternity. Men were assisting women. Couples passing by me. Most faces were beaming with happiness. I stood there alone, out of place. I knew what Michael was testing. Since his entrepreneurial success, his associates were all CEOs and elites. In that circle, the greatest competition was over who had the newest, youngest mistress. At first, Michael was adamant. He swore he would never associate with such people. But over time, Michael started coming home later and later. Finally, the perfume scent appeared on him. I remembered the smell. Niche, but expensive. The same scent Ava wore. When I returned to the hospital, I carried a container of porridge. Pushing open the door, I found my husband being assisted out of the restroom. Ava was flushed, her eyes darting around, unsure where to look. She looked utterly bashful. Michael cleared his throat, forcing himself to rely on her as she helped him onto the bed. A prepackaged meal container sat next to his bed, clearly homemade. I set down the porridge, the sound drawing the attention of the two in the intimate atmosphere. Ava looked flustered. "Ms. Grace." Two tried to find a nurse, but they were busy. Mr. Michael was uncomfortable, so I had to help him to the restroom myself. I didn't see anything. My gaze swept over Michael's shifty eyes. He controlled his voice, making it sound normal. "How did the damage appraisal go?" I smiled, looking at Ava. "How was it?" "Michael, is he big enough? Was he enough for you?" Ava's face instantly changed. She looked at Michael, unable to speak. Michael's face darkened. "Grace, watch your language." Ava's face was bright red. Her eyes were teary. And she argued stubbornly. "Ms. Grace." "Mr. Michael was desperate. And you weren't here." I couldn't just let him soil the bed. I looked closely at her face for the first time. Round and fair. A smooth forehead. She looked a lot like I did when I was younger. As Ava finished speaking, Michael's expression grew colder and colder. He looked at the two contrasting breakfasts on the table and suddenly spoke. "Where were you last night?" "Where was I?" "I went home to sleep." "Of course." I stayed silent. He sneered. "I picked out perfume for Ava. And at least I got a homemade breakfast in return. But you. Did you spend the whole night on the damage appraisal?" "Grace, have you considered that I can't move myself right now?" I was left alone here in the hospital. Ava came to help. "What's wrong with that?" "Mr. Michael." Ava wept, leaning back against him, then raising her chin to look at me, full of defiance. "Mr. Michael has a cast on his leg. When I arrived, he couldn't move. He was truly helpless." She lowered her voice. It was a sight that would make anyone feel sorry for him. I gave a faint smile. "Ms. Ava, legally, the burden of proof is on the accuser. In this case, is there any dispute that whoever was with Michael when he got injured should be the one taking care of him?" Ava's eyes widened in panic. We didn't." "Grace." Michael gritted his teeth. "You're becoming ridiculous. I wasn't planning on completely ruining things right now." I picked up the packaged vegetable porridge and started to leave. Behind me, I heard Michael call my name angrily. He suppressed his rage, taking a deep breath. "Ava didn't see anything just now. You need to take back those nasty things you said." I nodded. "Fine." I held up the porridge container, shaking it slightly. "You won't eat this, right? Don't waste it. I'll take it to feed the dogs." I turned and walked out. I heard the sound of a woman crying softly from the room. Before the elevator arrived, I heard the man gently soothing her. I closed my eyes. My own emotional state was surprisingly calm. This meeting wasn't the first time Michael had lied to me, but the first time was also because of Ava. At a banquet, Michael, who usually insisted I accompany him, suddenly told me that this particular event wouldn't have any spouses in attendance. I cooperated and stayed home. But that night, I saw photos posted by mutual friends. Michael had his arm around the young woman's shoulder, using his left hand to shield her from a drink. It had been a long time since I had seen him smile so freely. When he returned home and realized I knew, he tried to joke and apologize, just giving a newbie some space to grow. "Honey, don't be mad. I just thought she looked a little like you." And I felt a pang of sympathy. If someone had mentored us back then, we wouldn't have had to eat apple peels for so long. That was the first time I realized that for Michael, those shared apple peels represented the most shameful part of our past. I didn't argue with him that day, but Michael was scared. After a silent night, he swore he would keep his distance from her. Whether it was Ava or anyone else, he wouldn't see them. Unfortunately, it wasn't long before I heard Michael had officially promoted the new employee to secretary. Breaking protocol. The secretary's name was Ava. Michael came home on crutches. Ava helped him, her entire face flushed with a thin layer of sweat. When she saw me, she immediately released Michael's hand. She was flustered and helpless. "Ms. Grace. I was just helping Mr. Michael stand. I didn't do anything else." I stared at her slightly smeared lipstick. "Before you try to cover your tracks, remember to wipe your mouth," she gasped, covering her lips with her hand. Only her moist eyes were visible. Even I, let alone Michael, felt a perverse urge to comfort a woman like that. Sure enough, he cleared his throat gently. "It must have smudged accidentally when she was helping me just now." Ava nodded in agreement, her hand still covering her mouth, as if waiting for someone to speak so that the prepared tears could fall. I looked away. Ava didn't stop moving. She pulled a perfume bottle out of her bag, placed it on the coffee table, and backed away. "Ms. Grace. Mr. Michael paid for this. I'm giving it back to you. Mr. Michael hasn't recovered yet. Please. I beg you. Don't fight with him because of me." She bowed to me and spun around, running off. At the same time, a friend request popped up on my WeChat. I accepted it, but the person didn't speak. She just quietly posted an update to her feed. "He gives me so many things. Things I don't like. I can just throw away." The accompanying photo was the bottle of perfume that had just appeared on my coffee table. Such a cheap provocation. I calmly locked my phone and turned around. Behind me, the man's voice was anxious. "Grace, where are you going?" I looked back. "Busy. Is there something you need?" Michael's chest rose and fell twice. He closed his eyes. "I'm home. Ava is gone." I nodded. He gritted his teeth. "I sent Ava away. Don't be angry anymore. You weren't at the hospital to accompany me. I couldn't be alone. Grace, stop making a fuss. Okay, you need to learn to be a little more understanding of me," I said. "Fine." When I saw the look of relief spread across Michael's face, I picked up my phone. "What's Ava's number? I'll call her for you and tell her to come back." The relief in his eyes instantly crumbled. "Grace, are you insane? I'm your husband. You want another woman to come home and take care of me?" My gaze landed on his face. "Why not? Meeting a shock." I smiled faintly. "The things couples do. Weren't you two already preparing to do them?" Michael's face froze. "Yes." Michael had been driving my car recently. I listened to all the dashcam recordings, including when he helped Ava pick out the perfume, including when they went out to dinner. If not for this car accident, their next destination would have been a hotel. I even heard Michael saying he wanted Ava to pick out an apartment near the office. There was nothing left to say. I didn't linger. I turned and went into the bedroom. The living room was silent for a long time. Then, the sound of crutches falling to the floor. I had used crutches once, too. A fractured tibia, encased in a cast for a long time. No matter how injured I was, life had to go on. Michael was busy running his startup during the day. At night, he rushed home as fast as possible to take care of me. One day, he came home to find me on the floor. The cast was badly cracked. When we went to the hospital, he yelled at me. "Why did you get out of bed when you were fractured? Wait for me to come home and take care of you." I only felt wronged at the time. "It's your birthday today. I wanted to make you a bowl of birthday noodles." Michael froze. I didn't cry, but his eyes reddened. He held me fiercely then. "Grace, I will treat you well my entire life. If I ever betray you, may I be struck by lightning." He was in the initial stages of his startup. He had no money. He had no friends around. No one remembered his birthday. Only me. Michael forgot his own vow. Or perhaps, he wasn't corrupted by his environment. He was simply that type of person deep down. In the living room, footsteps shuffled awkwardly. The study door was knocked on. Michael kept his voice low. Grace, let's talk. I think I can explain the situation with Ava. He used the spare key to open the door himself. I was organizing documents related to our marital assets. He slightly frowned. What are you doing? I paused, setting the papers down. Just cleaning up the files. They were dusty. Michael stood straighter. We haven't done anything inappropriate. I looked up at him, and his Adam's apple bobbed. Before he could speak, my phone began vibrating continuously. A message from the new friend I had accepted. MS. Grace. Is Mr. Michael feeling better? I'm a little worried about Mr. Michael. After all, I've been taking care of him. MS. Grace. Why aren't you replying? Are you busy? Or are you mad at Mr. Michael? Please don't fight because of me. We really haven't done anything. She hadn't been out of this house for more than 2 hours. Yet, her concerned messages came flooding in quickly. I replied to her. You two cheating. Does it make it better if I'm involved? In front of me, Michael looked impatient. Grace, stop looking at your phone. Can you listen to me? He emphasized every word. Ava and I are innocent. I don't know what you're imagining or what misunderstandings you have, but you can't. I shoved my phone in front of his face. All of Michael's unspoken words caught in his throat. The reason. Ava had sent me a picture. She was lying next to Michael in the hospital bed, eyes closed, her face showing complete bashfulness. It was a VIP room. It had a fold-out bed for companions. What excuse could possibly explain this? I stared into Michael's eyes and scoffed. The image on my phone was immediately retracted by Ava. The voice message she sent was frantic. MS. Grace. I clicked the wrong thing just now. I sent it randomly. You didn't see it, did you? Michael's face changed instantly. He swayed, grabbing the edge of the table. Grace. Ava. She doesn't understand female rivalry. The heating broke in the hospital that day, and she was afraid I was cold, so she helped warm me up. I looked at him silently. My phone rang again. Ava's voice played automatically. She sounded tentative. MS. Grace. Are you angry? I was just too cold that day, so I stayed with Mr. Michael. Please don't worry. Michael's expression froze. I lifted my chin. No need to explain. You were both cold. I understand. I stacked the property deeds. As if sensing something, Michael suddenly covered my hand with his. Grace, why are you doing this? I pulled my hand away and, unable to help myself, pushed past him and into the bathroom to wash and sanitize my hands. Michael followed, his eyes full of suspicion. What does that mean? Grace, do you think I'm dirty? I turned off the tap. I was wiping the back of my hand with an alcohol wipe without looking up. That hand of yours. It held Ava, didn't it? His body stiffened. His face cycled through shades of white and green for a while. Everyone in my circle does this. Grace, why can't you understand me? Do you want me to be the only pure one? He couldn't hide his disappointment. Grace, stop making a scene. I get tired too. Even though I had already made my decision. Michael's sudden change of attitude made me go blank for a few seconds. The feeling spreading through my heart wasn't heartbreak. It was the feeling of closure that things were exactly as they should be. I stared at him. I replied calmly. Fine. I won't make a scene. Michael looked stunned, as if surprised by my compliance. I dried my hands, walked past him, and put on my shoes. Michael finally reacted, limping over on his crutch, deeply frowning. Where are you going? I didn't turn back. I closed the front door. I arrived at the law office. Before the asset valuation was finished, I received a call from Michael. I could tell he was trying to control himself. Where did you go? When are you coming home? In the background, I faintly heard the sound of glass shattering on the floor, followed by a girl's startled cry. Ava's voice, full of remorse. Mr. Michael. I accidentally knocked over the photo frame. What should I do? I didn't hear the rest of the conversation. Michael hastily hung up. Soon, his text message arrived. Don't think anything of it. I fell down and couldn't reach you, so I called her for help. She's leaving right away. I put down my phone. I remained silent. There was only one photo frame in our house. It was from the time my leg healed, and he eagerly proposed. We couldn't afford professional photos, so we asked a nurse to take a picture of us outside the hospital. Michael had promised that once we had money, he would take me all over the world to wear the most beautiful wedding dresses. But once he had money, he never had the time. That frame held our only picture together. I stood up and walked to the lawyer. I pointed at the assets he was reviewing. I don't want this house. It was dirty. Disgusting. This was the first time I hadn't gone home since we married. Michael's phone call came right on time. 9 o'clock. Why aren't you home yet? Before I could speak, he quickly added, Ava has already left. My leg hurts a little, and I haven't eaten. His words were like the time I first learned about Ava. He extended an olive branch, but as soon as I took it, he would join Ava in testing my boundaries again and again. That kind of game, played too often, was just tiresome. This time, I didn't engage. I informed him, clearly and precisely. Michael, let's get divorced. The phone line was silent for a long time. Finally, Michael responded with false bluster. What strange nonsense are you talking about? Divorce isn't something you say lightly. I told you. I haven't done anything to betray you. Why are you dragging this out? My tone was steady. I've completed an assessment of the assets. The divorce agreement will be sent to you by courier shortly. By the way, are you home now? Michael finally realized I wasn't joking. His voice was strained with panic. What divorce agreement? I never wanted to divorce you. On the phone, only the sound of me turning the pages of the divorce agreement could be heard. When it arrives, you can read page 3 carefully. It details the asset division. Grace. Michael's voice cracked. Are you serious? Why wouldn't I be? Just as Michael was trying to make me accept his mistress. Although it was merely a test, wasn't his intent real? I kept my voice calm. Although legally there isn't a concept like leaving with nothing, the law supports compensation from the at-fault party in a divorce. I'm currently asking for half. Don't force me to go to litigation and make things ugly for everyone. On the other end of the line, something hit the floor. Michael's voice trembled slightly. Don't go through litigation. Grace, I agree not to divorce. Good. Then I will proceed with the legal process. Michael unilaterally cut off the call. I thought about it and still contacted a courier to send the divorce agreement to Michael. It would be best if he signed it. Legal action was, after all, troublesome. As I prepared to sleep, the phone rang again. Michael was calling. He didn't speak for a long time. I frowned. Do you have an objection to the terms of the agreement? He seemed unable to hear my question, speaking with a husky voice. Grace, I've thought about this a lot. I have not truly crossed the line in our marriage. Ava is just a female colleague. I don't think this is a sufficient reason for divorce. Why are you suddenly acting so different? He paused, sounding suspicious. Are you involved in something else? I was shocked, then found it laughable. Michael, are you trying to deflect blame onto me? He was silent for a few seconds. If you stop talking about divorce, we can discuss things properly, he said. To this day, my body remains faithful. I haven't touched anyone else. I retorted. What if you hadn't had the car accident? Without that car accident, according to their planned itinerary shopping, a date, straight to the hotel. Michael even had his excuse ready. The meeting would be followed by entertaining clients. If the accident hadn't happened, Ava might have already been experiencing morning sickness. Michael was silent on the phone for a long time, finally saying with regret, but the accident happened. Nothing still happened between us. I replied calmly. What about in the hospital? Did nothing happen then? Either. Michael's voice cut short. I smiled. Ava using her hand, that doesn't count as cheating. He panicked. What are you talking about? I stated the facts calmly. I visited the hospital 6 days ago. I personally saw Ava emerge from the privacy curtain, looking seductive, as if afraid I wouldn't understand. She shook her hand in front of me, smiling contentedly. MS. Grace. My hand is so tired. At that time, Michael was on the hospital bed, surrounded by the privacy curtain. The floor was littered with used tissues. The entire room was filled with a suggestive, lustful odor. I immediately turned and walked out. I could still hear Michael asking, Ava, what's wrong? Ava's voice was sweet and coquettish. Nothing, Mr. Michael. Just that my hand is really sore. The man whispered gentle words of comfort. The next day, $20,000 disappeared from my bank account. It didn't matter. Those expenses were all tallied into Michael's portion of the assets. What was mine? I wouldn't lose a cent of. I wasn't particularly surprised when Michael found my new apartment. He had bought this house, his second property, and put it in my name. When he handed me the keys, he personally said, "If I ever hurt you, you can move here. This is your guarantee from your husband." I never doubted Michael's sincerity back then. Unfortunately, sincere feelings are easily broken. He stood there, leaning on his crutch, his chin covered in stubble, looking exhausted and haggard. "What are you doing here?" I looked at him. "Did you bring the agreement?" Michael suddenly grabbed my hand. "Grace, I know I was wrong, but I never intended to divorce you. After you left, I realized I really can't accept it. Whether it's Ava or anyone else. I only have one wife, and that's Grace. I don't want anyone else, and I can't accept anyone else." He focused on his main point. "In the hospital, Ava and I still didn't technically have sex. I know you're bothered by it. I truly understand now. I'll tell HR to fire her." "Okay. From now on, no matter what happens in that circle, I won't participate." "Okay." The crutch dropped to the floor. He tried to hug me as he spoke. His breath on my neck sent shivers of disgust up my throat. I violently pushed him away. Michael slammed into the security door with a loud thud. He was stunned. His eyes were red. "Grace, no matter how dirty that circle is, my feelings for you have never changed." I couldn't hide the revulsion in my eyes. "If I used my hand to touch another man, could you accept that?" He froze. His lips trembled, but he couldn't utter a word. "You can't accept it, right?" I sneered, taking a step closer to look him in the eye. "Then how can you expect me to accept it without a single doubt?" His voice choked. "I didn't mean that. I mean, I can compensate you." I stared at him. I watched him steady himself against the door without reaching out. I suddenly asked, "Do you still remember the promise you made when my leg was broken?" The color drained from Michael's face. I continued, "I don't know if you'll be struck by lightning, but all I know is that even if you were struck dead by lightning, I wouldn't want to look at you again." "Michael, you truly disgust me." He looked at me with disbelief, his eyes wide. I pushed the door open, took a large stride out, and shut the door in his face. "If you like, you can stay here. I'm leaving now to file the divorce petition." "Michael, I hope that in court, you can loudly tell the judge that manual services don't count as crossing the line." "Grace." He shouted my name loudly. I walked away. I happened to pass his crutch. Without seeing it, I accidentally kicked it a little further away. The divorce petition was filed quickly. Soon after, Michael received the court summons. Before the hearing, Ava started trying frantically to get my attention. Her messages to me were tearful. "MS. Grace, why are you forcing Mr. Michael to fire me by divorcing him? I never wanted to compete with you." Mr. Michael had already started taking me to many gatherings. "If he fires me, what will the other bosses think of me?" Such a performance of misery was clearly meant for someone else to see. I didn't reply, perhaps because Michael didn't take the bait. Ava became frantic. "You were the unnecessary one. Why do you always have to interfere at the wrong time? Stop pretending." "Grace, you clearly succeeded by taking the same path. Why turn around and block the road for others?" Ava was referring to the fact that I held a 15% stake in Michael's company. I found it mildly amusing, but I still took the time to reply to her message. "The path I took is different from yours. I built Michael's company with him, step by step. You want to copy my success, but don't want to put in the same hard work. Someone like you, who only uses their looks to serve men compared to me. Are you worthy?" I didn't wait for her reply. I blocked her contact information. People like that had no shame. The news of my divorce proceedings against Michael created a huge stir in our social circles. Before the court session, I happened to run into Michael, who was in a wheelchair. The one pushing the wheelchair wasn't Ava, but a male assistant I hadn't seen before. He stared at me from a distance. His lips were cracked, showing resentment and disappointment. "Grace, do you know, everyone in the circle has contacted me. Plenty of men keep mistresses outside, and their wives know about it. But only you caused such a scandal, humiliating us both." I stopped. "Are you suggesting we return to the Qing dynasty so that polygamy becomes normalized?" "It's not impossible." I smiled at him, watching the movement in his eyes. I stated clearly, You should try getting struck by lightning. If you die and travel back to ancient times, you can have multiple wives. I suggested it with earnest seriousness. You should try it. That's how it works in the movies. The flicker of hope in Michael's eyes shattered. Grace. Before I stepped into the courtroom, he called out to me again. His fists were tightly clenched on his legs. I admit I was wrong. Can we not go through with this? The courtroom was waiting for us to take our seats. I gave a distant smile. Do you remember what I asked you when you said you had a meeting? Michael's face went immediately pale. He remembered. That day, I had asked him, if I had good news to tell you, could you skip the meeting? Could we not reach this point? Michael's tone then had been gentle. It's a business meeting. It won't take long. Can the good news wait until I come home? He seemed to realize something, quickly sliding his wheelchair forward and grabbing my hand. What good news did you want to tell me then? Grace, what was the news? That day, I wanted to tell you I was pregnant, that we were going to be a real family. His gaze immediately dropped to my abdomen. He looked wistful. Grace, let's not divorce. We'll go home. We have a child. We'll start over. Tu will be a good father. I bent down, looking straight into his eyes. But on the day I saw you and Ava together in the parking lot, I went to the hospital and terminated the pregnancy. I smiled. Otherwise, why would I get to the hospital so quickly? In my sight, his eyes instantly filled with tears. He trembled. Grace, you're trying to take revenge. You got rid of our child just to get revenge on me. I pulled my hands away, scoffing. You're thinking too much. I simply didn't want my child to have a father like you. His existence would be a disgrace. After saying that, I showed no further mercy. I turned and was the first to step into the courtroom. The evidence submitted included the complete dialogue between them in the car. The breakdown of our marriage required no further proof. The gavel dropped. Our marriage of several years was officially over. As I walked out of the building, Michael was sitting outside the main doors, looking devastated. I looked away. I walked down a different road, moving in the opposite direction. From now on, we were separated, with no further connection. That evening, someone organized a dinner to celebrate my first day back to single life. Everyone raised their glasses at the table. When the atmosphere grew lively, someone clapped their hands. Soon, over a dozen young men walked in and stood in a row. Someone teased me. Grace, you never picked one when you were married. Now you're single. Quick, pick one and have some fun. No need to stick to the rules anymore. Another woman laughed nearby. Get Grace too. One on the left, one on the right. Hurry. I'll pay for her. The private room was electric. Michael didn't know that besides his business circles, there was another high society in the city, the wives' circle. He had their competitive mistresses. The wives' circle had their cultivated young gigolos. It was hard to say who played a dirtier game, but you didn't need to share the same hobbies to fit into the group. Although I had never hired anyone, I was still well integrated. During the dinner, someone who had too much to drink secretly told me, Grace, don't be so straight-laced all the time. Your ex-husband went to places like this plenty of times. One on the left, one on the right. They've been doing this for ages. Haha. The party ended late. I had a few drinks and was slightly tipsy. The sound of high heels followed me out of the club. A woman lit a cigarette right in front of me. Grace. A huge success. I nodded. The woman across from me smiled. Good. Since you succeeded, it's my turn now. When I divorce, you have to help me. I laughed. Of course. I'll help you arrange an accident for your husband, too. The woman rolled her eyes at me. And the mistress. The one you prepared for Michael didn't get used. I'll use her for my old man. Roy. The girl you picked out is exactly the type Roy likes. I agreed to everything. A light rain began to fall. It was cold and damp on my skin, sobering me up slightly. I had known about the sordidness of their business circle for a long time. The girl I originally prepared was just a test. But the test hadn't even begun when Michael had already stumbled into trouble with another woman. No, I should say that Michael already harbored these intentions. Ava just appeared sooner, and she fit the type of stimulation he was looking for. The woman in front of me exhaled smoke. She suddenly frowned. Wait, I heard you were pregnant before, and you terminated it. Are you out of your recovery period already? Drinking like this? No, I said, smiling and shaking my head. I pulled a thin cigarette from her case and lit it. I was never pregnant. It was a lie to fool the dumb bastard. The stinging smoke hit my throat, making me cough. The woman looked stunned, then burst into loud laughter. "You're something else, Grace." Michael might have been a jerk, but he had business acumen. Half of his fortune was still a considerable amount. While traveling in the Maldives, I heard the latest news about Michael. His leg hadn't fully recovered, but he attended a contract signing ceremony. It was a cross-country corporate collaboration, and he invited local news media. It was at that moment that Ava rushed in, crying. She accused Michael of abandoning her after she got pregnant. She shouted and screamed, completely sabotaging Michael's contract signing ceremony. Even though Michael used all his connections, in the end, he couldn't salvage the losses. Business truly is a strange circle. When you lack the ability to enter, you can rely on determination to claw your way up. But once you're in and you fall into the mud again, nobody will acknowledge that they were ever associated with you. I only heard that Michael was doing terribly lately, dragging his still injured leg. He was struggling to recover his business. I didn't pay attention to subsequent developments, whether he rose again, or whether he fell into ruin. Regardless, we are strangers now. We may never meet again. In the pool, someone called out for me to join them. I smiled and stood up. "I'm coming." The water in the Maldives was indeed vibrant and colorful.